Rafik thought it would be just another quiet night shift, until he saw a face staring at him from the ICU window, one that shouldn't have existed. And Aisha, she only stopped near that old house to escape the rain. But whatever was waiting for her inside wasn't human. What happens to them next is far darker than you're prepared for. Watch till the end. The night had reached that strange quiet point where the city goes silent and a person can hear their own breathing echoing back at them. That was the moment when everything began. Rafik had been working the night shift as a security guard for nearly 2 years. But something about this night felt different, cold, heavy, and unnaturally still. The large hall of the medical complex was dark as always, yet he felt an odd sense of movement in the air, as if someone was slowly walking toward him from a place he couldn't see. He sat on his chair, eyes fixed on the CCTV monitors, when a spine-freezing sight flashed before him. On camera number 4, which overlooked the upper ward, a tall shadow passed by. No clear face, no footsteps, just a blurred, shifting silhouette, slowly heading toward the ward that had been shut down for weeks. Rafik frowned. No one ever went to that section. Renovation work had been halted. He grabbed his flashlight, straightened his belt, and climbed the stairs. The long corridor upstairs echoed with every step, as if the place itself was listening. When he reached the ward door, he pressed the handle. The room was completely still. No patient, no moved furniture, nothing to show someone had been inside. He exhaled deeply, but then his body froze. The glass behind him rattled softly. He turned around, and there, behind the ICU window, someone was staring directly at him. The face. It was human, yet something was missing, as if the eyes were present, but the life behind them wasn't. Rafik quickly flashed his light toward the ICU, but the room was empty, the window clear, the beds untouched. His legs trembled. He forced himself downstairs, trying to convince his mind it was a trick of the light, but his heart refused to agree. Back in the CCTV room, he checked the feed and nearly dropped the screen. Camera number 7 showed the same face standing outside the ICU door, motionless, staring for several minutes. But when he skipped forward a few seconds, it vanished instantly, as if the recording itself feared showing it. He rubbed his eyes, telling himself it was exhaustion. But then something worse happened. A dead, unplugged ECG monitor suddenly turned on by itself. Beep, 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 as if a heartbeat had returned. The machine had been out of service for days, waiting to be moved to storage. Rafik rewound the footage, searching for a clue, but all he saw was a dark shape sliding toward the monitor and disappearing. People don't usually see ghosts on cameras, but whatever that thing was, it did not move like a human being. His pulse raced. Still, he forced himself to check the upper floor again. As he walked toward the ICU, the door creaked open slowly, inviting him inside. The room was dim, almost unnaturally cold, as if someone had set the temperature far below freezing. A strange burnt plastic smell lingered in the air. He took a step forward, and the ICU door slammed shut behind him. His breath stopped. The monitor flickered on again, and this time, words began typing across the screen by themselves. "Don't follow." Rafik stumbled backward, a lifeless machine typing actual words. That was beyond anything his mind could process. He grabbed his flashlight and ran downstairs, refusing to look back. He spent the rest of the night sitting outside the CCTV room, refusing to go in. When the staff arrived in the morning, everything seemed normal, but the words were still written on the monitor. Everyone blamed a technical glitch, but Rafiq quit that very day. Even now, whenever he walks past that building, he swears he sees that same face in the window, silent, motionless, hiding whatever truth belonged to that night. But the horror doesn't end there. Far from the city, in a quiet village, behind a lonely hill, stood an old house that locals avoided for years. Not because of superstition, but because the truth was much darker. Aisha, a simple schoolgirl, walked past that house every day. The path was so silent she could hear her own footsteps, but she never dared look inside. One afternoon, heavy rain forced her to take shelter under the house's broken roof. Raindrops soaked her uniform, and as she glanced at the window, her heart nearly stopped. Behind the dusty glass, a woman stood inside, slowly waving her hand as if asking for help. Aisha thought maybe someone elderly lived there. She moved toward the door, but before she could knock, it opened on its own. Damp air and the faint smell of burnt wood drifted out. The house was dim, except for a weak lamp glowing in the corner. There the woman appeared again, tall, dressed in white, but her face wasn't right. It looked blurred, incomplete, like smoke covering burnt skin. She smiled, but the smile wasn't human. She beckoned Aisha forward. Aisha took 2 hesitant steps. Then the lamp flickered violently, before the entire room fell into total darkness. A cold whisper drifted across the room from nowhere and everywhere. "You came! You came!" Aisha's pulse hammered in her ears. She turned to run, but the door had slammed shut. Somewhere in the darkness, soft, dragging footsteps slid across the floor. She grabbed her phone and flicked on the flashlight. The beam revealed the walls, covered with black handprints, as if someone had clawed at them, trying desperately to escape. Something moved in the corner, and Aisha's throat tightened. The woman stepped into the light, her face now clearly visible, burned, split between charred black and ghostly white, half melted, half staring. Her smile stretched unnaturally wide. Aisha screamed, shoved the door with all her strength, and burst into the rain. She didn't stop running until her village came into view. When she told the elders, they exchanged grim looks. Years ago, they said, a woman had burned to death inside that house. Since then, travelers claimed to see her waving from the window, inviting people in, and those who entered left only the marks of their terror on the walls. Nothing more. Aisha never took that path again, and sometimes, at night, when she looks toward the hill from her bedroom window, she feels as though someone stands there in the darkness, watching her, the same burnt face, the same twisted smile, as if whispering, "You will come back." If this story pulled you in and kept your heartbeat just a little too fast, you're exactly the kind of person I want with me on this channel. Hit that like button so more people can experience the same chill you just felt. Subscribe if you're brave enough to keep going. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Rafiq's place? Or if you were the one standing at that old house in the rain? Your answer might reveal more about you than you think. Thanks for watching.